Alright, here impulse transmission through chemical synapse. Impulse reaches the axon terminal and synaptic vesicles bind on plasma membrane. So release of neurotransmitters from the synaptic vesicles. It diffuses across synaptic cleft. Neurotransmitters diffuses across synaptic cleft and combine with receptors on the postsynaptic neurons, postsynaptic membrane. So whenever neurotransmitters are attached to the receptors of postsynaptic membrane, opening of ion channels along entry of ions. Then generation of action potential in postsynaptic neuron. This action potential may be excitatory or inhibitory. So it should be reaches to the another neuron, or it should be presented in that same neuron only, right? It causes excitatory or inhibitory, right? This is impulse and transmission of through the chemical synapse, right? This is also most important topic. So next one, human neural system. So what are the components of human neural system? So human neural system flow chart. The human nervous system majorly divided into two different components, that is central nervous system and peripheral nervous system, CNS and PNS. So what are the components of central nervous system? Brain and spinal cord are the components of central nervous system. So brain and spinal cord, and apart from brain and spinal cord, remaining all comes under in peripheral nervous system. So peripheral nervous system works under the control of CNS only, right? So brain and spinal cord, brain receives and processes sensory information and initiate response, stores and memories, and generates thoughts and emotions. So different types of the brain functions we'll discuss in the brain topic, right? And spinal cord conducts signals to the and form to the brain, and conduct signals and conduct signals to and from the brain controls reflex activities, right? Controlling of reflex activities also spinal cord. And peripheral nervous system, PNS, motor neurons and sensory neurons. So PNS consists with, there is two different types of the neurons, motor neurons and sensory neurons, afferent and efferent neurons. There is two different types of the neurons. Motor neurons are also called efferent neurons. Efferent neurons means it carries nerve impulses from CNS to muscles and glands. That type of the neurons are called motor neurons, are also called efferent, right? Sensory neurons are also called afferent neurons. So the nerve impulses, it receives the stimulus and those nerve impulses passes from sensory organs to CNS. Such type of the neurons are called sensory neurons, are also called afferent neurons, right? And the peripheral nervous system majorly divided into two different components, so two different types, that is somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system, SNS and ANS. So peripheral nervous system, two different types components, that is somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system, SNS and ANS. Somatic nervous system, it controls all the voluntary movements, all the voluntary body parts under the control of SNS, all the involuntary body parts under the control of ANS. So below following which are controlled, which type of nervous system is controlled involuntary movements in the body, that is autonomic nervous system, ANS, right? So autonomic nervous system consists with two different types again components, that is sympathetic and parasympathetic. So sympathetic and parasympathetic opposite, it works vice versa, right? Suppose some of the body functions are increases by sympathetic nervous system, and the body functions are decreases by parasympathetic nervous system. Up to this clear? So this is the components of nervous system, the flow chart of nervous system, CNS and PNS. CNS components are brain and spinal cord, and PNS there is somatic and autonomic nervous system, and which are leads by motor and sensory neurons. Motor neurons are also called efferent neurons, and sensory neurons afferent neurons. And ANS again two divisions, sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. So motor neurons are efferent neurons, CNS to muscles, and sensory neurons, sensory organs to CNS. And somatic nervous system, all the voluntary body functions controlled by SNS, and all the involuntary body functions are controlled by ANS, right? So this flowchart I given in notes, once refer notes, and generation and conduction of action potential also once go through the notes also, whatever our class learning notes is there, in that I given clearly. So whatever the steps which are following by different types of action potential and resting membrane potential, right? So once refer, go through the NCERT lines and in notes also. Okay, right. So in next class we are going to discuss about brain and structure of eye, and reflex action and structure of ear, right? Thank you very much. Bye bye.